Okay. Recording. Welcome to Say What with Sandy. I'm here with Nick Sefakis, former member of Iya Terra and current solo artist who's been working and refining his sound for the last few years. But it feels weird to call you a solo artist because you are very collaborative. You work with lots of different artists. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I'm making an album right now with Eureka Sound. If you don't know, if you haven't been to a show or anything, I've been touring and playing shows with them. They've been gracious enough to learn all my songs and be my band, essentially, you know? So those have been the homies. We've been making a full-length record. I'm down at their studio. They're recording it. They're playing all the instrumentals. We're writing it together. It's been a cool process. Like, I'll show up in the morning, we'll have a session, and we'll just we'll kind of make the song on the spot, you know, and we'll come up with it together, throwing ideas back and forth, and we'll spend the whole probably like 12-14 hour day at the studio just making that one song. And producing for people, for Eureka Sound Studio. That's my studio that I operate and own, and lots of talented artists from around the world, man, have been reaching out and having me do mixes, whether it's dub mixes or mixing their song. I've been doing features for artists. Got a features going on from Germany, France, just to name a couple right now. So, yeah, lots of works.
Cool. We'll kind of dive more into that. But on top of being a talented musician, you're also my boyfriend. And a big inspiration for me starting this channel, because a lot of times we'll have like these deep convos about the music industry. So we're going to be diving into that more later, and also just kind of talking about your story and journey. And I've also asked my followers on my Instagram, Say What with Sandy, to write in their questions that they have for Nick. So I'll kind of be sprinkling those in throughout. So I thought we could just dive in, start at the beginning. What was the moment that you knew you wanted to pursue music as your full-time career?
I don't know if there was one single moment. If there was, it was Reggae Rise Up 2014. Forgive me if I got the year wrong. At Liberty Park in Utah, Salt Lake City. It was, I think, one of their first Reggae Rise Ups. A couple bands that stood out were Tribal Seeds and Fortunate Youth. The first time seeing either of those bands. First time going to a reggae show. That was it. And it was like, wow. But the reason I say I don't know if there was a moment, that was one. But I started playing guitar when I was 8, you know. And I'd come home from practice and I'd go I'd pick my guitar up. I'm tired, and it was just like, I would just start playing and get lost in it. So music's always been around, and when I was 15, my dad bought me a keyboard to produce beats on GarageBand, and I was always like downloading hip hop beats and downloading songs from LimeWire at the time, and I was a music head from the start, you know. And music's always been kind of my getaway, and I never realized that until I got a little older, and I'm like, wow, I like retreat to music for therapy and to feel good and to express myself, you know. I would find myself speaking thoughts through music sometimes, or emotions, rather than just talking about them, you know. So at some point I was like, wow, I am a musician. I just can't deny it anymore.
So once you kind of had that inspiration and you knew you wanted to do it, how did you take it from this is what I want to do to a reality for yourself?
Yeah, that was the fun part. I was just making beats, you know, in my apartment one day. This is like after I finished playing football. Like, I decided that I played college football for a year, and I decided after that I was going to go to school for music. And I remember making music in my house one day. I had just finished a song, and I showed it to one of my friend's girlfriends that was just there at the time, one of my roommate's girlfriends, and she was like, let me hear that. And I was like, all right, gave it to her. I was all nervous. And she's like, yo, this is dope. And that was like one of the first times I got like satisfaction of showing someone else my music. And they were like, oh, this is dope. You should do something with this. And that feeling just grew, you know? And so what I did is I put an ad out on Craigslist in the classifieds, you know, I was just like musician looking for a reggae band or like reggae artists to collaborate with. And sure as shit, I found some people, like big up my homie Will, Mohammed, Omar, Mike. Yeah, that was my first band. We were called the Rock Steadies. I was singing and playing guitar in it, and I booked some shows for us at the local bar. Local bars. I got connected with the Salt Lake City reggae scene, and yeah, dude, we were doing good. Like it was fun. We got our name out there, and yeah, it was new. It was so new, and it was fun, man. Good first experience.
How do you think that playing sports and being on football has influenced your career as a musician?
Learning how to show up for yourself and for others, even when you don't want to. I think that's big. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things sports taught me is kind of like self-discipline, you know, like mentally, physically. And that's gone a long way in music. I realize how many people don't make it in music is because they're lacking one crucial element, and it's not always the sound. Like I've met some really great musicians that are amazing, phenomenal musicians, but they lack something in here, you know, and it could be discipline, it could be a lot of different things that football taught me. So I'm thankful for sports and that.
Awesome. First fan question. Angela_Iamom wants to know. Do you miss playing football?
Parts of it. When I wake up and my back hurts, right now today, I don't miss it. I miss playing basketball. I played basketball more years of my life than I did football. I played basketball from a child, growing all the way up to high school. I kind of got recruited to play football, you know? The coach came and was like, we could use a receiver, boy. You got some good hands, like tall, broad shoulders. Gave me the whole fucking rah-rah, you know? So I did it. But honestly, looking back, I kind of wish I could have kept playing basketball, but like my coach was a fucking asshole. In basketball, it just wouldn't have worked out. I would have had to switch schools or something. You know, growing up in Utah, it was like a lot of favoritism going on, you know. Not being a Mormon, growing up in Utah was hard at times, and unfortunately, that manifested on the basketball court and didn't in the football. So like I was respected, my athleticism was respected on the football field, and it was more like politics on the basketball court, unfortunately. That's just how it panned out for me. But you'll find me playing basketball a few times a week down at the local park. So that's still like, I love sports, man. It's a part of me, yeah.
You talked a little bit about the first bands you saw that inspired you to want to play music, but another fan question. The Norris Man and Michaela Lilyby both asked, who is your biggest musical inspiration?
I think my biggest musical inspiration, right off my head, is my papa. My grandpa, rest in peace, Guy Ventura. I'm just listening to him play and sing. He would make me mixtapes on his like 1-track tape recorder, and he'd send them to me, and it meant a lot, yeah. My biggest musical inspirations, as far as other artists go, is I think forever and always going to be Midnight / Akebeka, Oswald, and Chronix. I think those are my 3 top musical influences. J. Cole is also up there. Earth, Wind, and Fire, if I had to do 5, yeah.
Okay, cool. So going back to the timeline of your life, you quit football, you started pursuing music, started gigging around Salt Lake City. How did you end up connecting with Iya Terra?
I was a fan of them. How did I become a fan? I don't necessarily remember. I became a fan of them at like the same time I became a fan of like ITEL Vibes, you know, the band ITEL Vibes. They had just gone, I think on 2014, they had gone on their first tour and they toured together. And I was following them. I had been playing their EP, you know, and then I saw Nate posted that they were looking for another member, like a guitarist and a singer. And for some reason, that just like, poof, it was just like this shining thing. Like I was going through my phone, I saw that post, and then something just told me like, that's me right there. Like, I'm gonna make that happen. So I reached out. I'm like, yo, I saw you're looking for somebody, and I reached out, and he was like, yeah, like I'm sure he was like, whatever, this Utah kid, whatever. They said, yeah, we're playing in Vegas in like a week or two. Like, if you want to meet us there and rehearse, go ahead. And I did, sure as shit. I drove my ass down to Vegas, linked up with them. Yeah, it was a good rehearsal, nice vibes. Went to their show. They were playing with New Kingston. I'm sure they left, you know, again. They're like, that was a fun night. Cool guy, whatever. Probably never going to see him again. I was persistent as fuck. I would hit them up like every week, and I would just be like, I'm ready to move out to California if you need me to. Like, let's fucking do this. I'm sure they were like, whatever, sure. I hit them with a date. I said, I'll be there January 1st. I'm moving there. 2015. I hit them with the date. My ass showed up. I kept being persistent. I said, I'm here. Let's work. You know? A couple months went by. Not sure if I knew I was going to be in the band. I was kind of like playing my feelers, making some friends, you know? And then sure enough, they finished Full Circle. Right when they finished Full Circle, they were like, okay, we're ready to incorporate a new member, and it's going to be you, so let's get it. And we got it. We sure as shit, we got it.
Fuck yeah. Well, I've always thought that was very brave of you and inspiring, because who just moves to another state to when they don't even know for sure if...
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, everything I knew is in Utah. I don't have family out here. I was going to move in with my aunt in Santa Cruz, but Iya Terra wasn't in Santa Cruz. It was kind of they were in LA, so I was like, what the fuck am I going to go to Santa Cruz for then? You know?
Yeah. So what were those early days in Iya Terra like? You guys were touring pretty hardcore right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
I remember you always telling me, or a long time ago, telling me that when you were with Iya Terra, all of you guys, it felt like this like powerful, magical force, that you guys were on the same mission, and it was like you can't be stopped. Can you talk just like a little bit more about that?
Yeah. The early days in Iya Terra, to answer your first question, we worked our asses off. We toured like that's what we did. We didn't have much of a life outside being on the road. Started in our cars, moved to a 15-passenger van, moved to an RV, moved to a bandwagon, moved our way up over the years, but a lot of time on the road, being uncomfortable in a van. Mm-hmm. And we put our sound in people's ears, physically, in person, you know? That's what we did when I first joined. We worked our asses off. And then, yeah, the feeling of kind of like a vortex of good energy. I believe in I think our motto at the time was what was it? Meditation, manifestation, inspiration, or some shit like that. Yeah. And on our shirts. When you have 6 or 5 people whose minds are in the same spot and whose hearts are in the same spot, it's beautiful and it's powerful. It's more powerful. Group collaboration and group intention is one of the most powerful things in this world, in anything. And it just so happened, God bless it, that all 5 of us in our growing, ever-changing life's journey were at this one locked in place. Like, for real, we were the same. Like, and if the parts of us that weren't the same complemented each other's weaknesses. We were a unit, you know? We were strong as shit. And that was like, so that's what I mean when it was this vortex. And when we were together, when all of us were together and we were putting in that work that our calling, you could say, right? When we were putting that in, it's just like good things would come our way, you know? Even when bad things would come, they'd ricochet off of our force field that we had. Like, it was Jah works for real. Like, that's what we call it. Like, Jah works, we're being done. And then it's the five of us plus the Most High, makes six. And it was just like an indefensible energy shield. So when you find your people like that, be present and work and do your service to that group and to that time. It's very special.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like a favorite tour memory that you'd like to share, or like most memorable crazy tour story?
One time, well, I don't want to incriminate ourselves. We've gotten pulled over a lot by like cops and border patrol. We've been at the U.S. First off, I want to big up the Canadian Border Patrol. Y'all are nice as fuck. On the way back to the U.S., they treated us like we didn't live here our whole fucking lives. They detained us. I may or may not have hid my marijuana in the RV against the requests of our management, and they didn't find it. But there were times we were pulled over and they had found some things. I won't go into too much detail on that. One time when they made us wait, they searched our vehicle for 2 hours on the side of a 30-degree freeway in western New York in the middle of nowhere. And the cop made us stomp all our weed into the ground and etc. I'm not going to say
now that shit's legal.
No,
so.
it's legal. Again, they did not find my marijuana during that search. I was the only one we got back on the road and I had a spliff to smoke. Thank God. I don't know what I did right there, but that was cool. We've had people. I could go on about tour stories. I've seen the most beautiful girl, other than you. I've seen one of the most beautiful girls in the world shit in a bag, shit on the ground, pick it up in a bag, forced to pick it up by security, and then she swung it around her head like a fucking caveman. That's something you don't see every day. That was in Texas, Dallas.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I could keep going, but we can move to the next question.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't have any comment on that last story. That's just a lot to digest. But going back to the weed thing, that reminds me of a fan question we have from Ali Christine 123. She asked a few questions, but first, indica, sativa, or hybrid?
Indica.
Okay.
Indica or indica hybrid. My favorite strain is Purple Punch. I think it's an indica hybrid technically, but I'm an indica guy.
And then favorite way to smoke?
Spliff. Yeah.
You love your spliffs.
Spliff and maybe like a bong rip here and there, but I like my spliffs.
Okay, another fan question from... Yeah, okay, here we go. In the house. This is a special moment I normally wouldn't allow this shit. Another fan question from Sunny Headlove, aka Callahan Powell. She wants to know, what was your most memorable show?
Oh, wow. Really thankful and blessed to have so many shows just flood my head right now. Years of touring, amazing crowds all over the place, If you were in that crowd, thank you. I love you. Thank you for making my life special. Red Rocks 3 times. Janice in Florida. Played to this crowd in Houston when we played. We supported Revolution. It was just fucking giant. It was like one of our first giant indoor crowds. It was just, the energy was just bouncing off the walls. So, you know, big up Houston, big up Florida, big up Denver. Steel Pulse tour was crazy. The East Coast went off for that. Yeah. And since Callie asked that question, what was it, Lucidity we were at?
Yeah.
They had like a big group hug.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was pretty crazy. There was this one girl that started crying in the center of the crowd and during our set, and people started putting their arms around her, and it turned into like this giant group hug, you know? The whole crowd was just like huddled in, and it was a good amount of people too.
Yeah.
So it was
I was in that hug.
It was a stinky hug, huh? No, I'm just kidding. It was special.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of stinky, probably.
Yeah, it was a camping festival. I don't think there were showers, just porta potties.
Yeah, it was one of them. It was one of them woke festivals.
But one of the most memorable weekends of my life, honestly.
Yeah. Me too.
I kind of want to go to a fan question from King Morsi, aka David Ramirez.
Oh, David.
He asked a few great questions. First, what do you think of the status of U.S. reggae?
David. I would like to see more spirituality, and not just like crystals and meditation, but like not being afraid to praise the Most High in His name. Not being afraid of like criticism about your skin color or your it's almost like such a vain way of thinking of, I don't look the part of giving thanks to the Most High. Like, what? Or you're worried about other people's judgments of you for, you know. I just wish there was more of that here, but that's why I do what I do, and I champion the bands that I champion in the States. There's a handful of them doing it, but it's unfortunate. It seems like a lot of the times the bigger a band gets, the farther away they get from that mindset I just talked about, you know. And so I don't know, I'm not just like, I also, man, like, I hate to be negative, but there's so much good about the US reggae scene too, man. It's grown exponentially since I started. Like, it's gotten so much bigger. I want to big up all the bands that helped grow US reggae to what it is now. Unfortunately, once it got big enough to be profited off of, those people and those vultures flew on in, and they got their long talons on the grasp of a beautiful thing, you know? So I'm thankful that it's where it's at.
Yeah.
But now we have to protect it even more, right? Because it's exposed. The higher the monkey climbs, the more he's exposed. So we're climbing higher. The genre's climbing higher. And I give thanks to those bands that came before us to put that work in. But now we're exposed more. So what are we going to do? We have to fight harder to protect what it is, right?
Going back to Iya Terra, and you guys were just kind of out there grinding, just touring your little hearts out. And then you finally get signed to management. How did that change things?
I think the biggest thing we got out of that whole experience was we landed a booking agent. We kind of got thrown into that inner web of network that I was talking about, that it benefited us in that sense. We got to link up with one of the big management companies, one of the big booking agencies, and they started getting us real shows, man. Real shows, real gigs, getting our asses out on the road, doing the damn thing. Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing from that whole experience.
That was the biggest positive thing. Were there any negatives that maybe you didn't see at first?
For sure. I mean, you'll listen to any musician that was signed to a label that's independent now, and they'll tell you the same thing, that there is a lot of bullshit and fuckery that goes on behind the scenes in any industry, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny, like, it's about who you know, but there's like a duality there. It's like networking is huge. It's always about who you know. but how you do business is like a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people, like, moral falls under the carpet, gets swept under the carpet in a lot of these situations. And
Switching the subject a little bit, you have been very open about your struggles with mental health, and if you're not willing to talk about this, that's totally fine. But you even had to sit one of the Iya Terra tours out because your mental health was so bad. Can you explain a little bit about like maybe how you got to that point and how you were able to pull yourself out of it and kind of get control over that again?
yeah, first I just want to big up everybody out there getting shit done and living into your purpose that deals with a mental health issue. I'm pretty open about it. I think at this point I've just had, like, ever since I was a young child, just like episodes of debilitating anxiety. Yeah, I went to therapy, meditation, different forms of meditation and self-awareness exercises, changing your thought habits, your thought patterns.
You went to a hypnosis even.
I tried hypnotherapy. I don't think I ever was hypnotized or anything. I don't know how much I believe in that, but lots of work, man. It's like a constant. I didn't just kick it to the curb. Like, I deal with it. It's a constant battle, but I feel like I have more control over it and it doesn't control me. Yeah, that was like the lowest point in probably like my life with as far as my anxiety and mental stuff went, but now that I'm kind of separated farther away from that, I take a lot of responsibility for that. I also realize how important it is, the group of people you're around and the energies you're feeling in a situation don't lie. They don't lie. And it's important to also listen to your feelings and your body and your emotions sometimes. And not doing that tour was me listening to myself.
Yeah.
Yes, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I hate letting people down. I was talking about showing up for yourself earlier from sports and self-discipline, mental discipline. Like, I don't think that moment reflects that. And for that, I get down and get hard on myself for that. But I'm human. And that was a life-changing moment for me. And like, how do you grow if it's not through life-changing moments,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, come a long way with it, man. I've been blessed with this vision and purpose of sound and music, and it's helping others heal. Like, that's one thing that really gets me through, man. That's one thing that really keeps me going. It's just, it's like collaborative healing. Yeah.
Speaking of life-changing moments, I have another fan question from Jessica Ann Brady. Asked, what was the moment you felt dramatically altered the course your life was on?
There's been a few. I think the first one was playing college football, like getting the opportunity to play at a higher level. The second one was when that ended in my life. There was a moment when that abruptly ended, and it was like, wow, this thing is done. This thing I put my life's work into is done forever. That's a big moment for you as a person, having, like, you've put years of work and sweat and tears into something, and it cuts to an end, right?
Mm-hmm.
With no hope of a future for it. Like, I'm trying to make you feel like the despair in that moment, sitting in that office and learning that's happening, right? Okay, so you have to rework yourself from there. The second biggest moment, joining Iya Terra, that changed my life. In Iya Terra, our goal was to play Cali Roots. We finally got there, We didn't even we played it multiple times, but I'm not even saying that the bowl time was the time for this. Like when we played the bowl and shit, it was like fucking lit, but that wasn't even the time. It was when we played the OG stage, the small stage. People showed up to that fucking stage like they had been waiting their whole lives for us to play Cali Roots, you know? Like I had been waiting what felt like my whole life to play Cali Roots, and all those people, they showed up like they were there with me waiting their whole life for us to play that. From then on, I said, holy shit, we have this, like, this is about to blow. Like, we have the support of the mass right now, for real. Like, it felt like they all spawned out of me, out of my passion I had for music, and they were all there. And I was like, whoa, this is real, dude. Like, those moments make it feel real, you know? And that was a moment for me where I was just like, my life is changing right now. Like, not only did I join one of my favorite bands, but like we've been fucking ripping, and like people see it, and people are us now. And so yeah, and sure as shit, our life really changed after that moment. We started getting crazy tour offers, touring the country, touring different countries, you know. Ever since then, things just really started flowing. But yeah, Cali Roots, first time playing Cali Roots was one of the biggest life-changing experiences for me. After that, I said there was a few. I'm going through them slowly. I'm sorry.
No.
The end of this, I built that up to show you how passionate I am. The end of this, obviously you guys are aware that we broke up. Our band went on a hiatus. That's devastating, dude. That's like the story I told you about putting years and years into football, and that's ended, right? Well, now I put years and years into this other thing that just ended recently for me. But from that, I've gained so much time in the game, so much practice, wisdom, knowledge that I feel very confident in throwing it into my own music and my own career. I feel like I have enough to keep pursuing that. Whereas with football, I knew it was over from that moment. And that's how I know the difference. Football, I knew in that moment it was done forever, right? When this ended, I didn't feel like that. I almost felt a weight off my shoulders. And I love those boys, and I'll always love every single one of those dudes. But that moment of synchronicity for some years that we were experiencing, that wasn't there. And it's unfortunate to deal with, and it's hard emotionally. It just wasn't there. That's the truth. It ended. That was fucking crazy. So that was what I think I named you like 4 life-changing experiences right there. But I'm 29 years old, about to turn 30. For me, those were some big ones. Aside from like the death of certain family members and stuff, like those are some of the biggest things in my life.
Go ahead.
And the last one on that right now is meeting, like, I think I'm in the process of my next life-changing moment, making a relationship with the Brethren and Eureka Sound, making an album with these guys, playing shows with these guys. I've learned so much from being around these boys and seeing they're kind of in that camaraderie phase, like that I was speaking of, where everything's like synchronistic happening, you know? And I'm so blessed to like be a part of something like that again, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you don't just step into that every day. Like it's not so I give thanks, and I'm blessed to like step into an energy like that again in my life, in my career, you know? Yeah. So thankful for that.
And it kind of happened naturally because your very first solo album, Foundation, came out in 2020. You were still in a band with Iya Terra at that point, but some of the guys in Eureka Sound have been your good friends since before then. Yeah. And they were a part of that very first album.
Ryan and David were.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that first album, like, how did that come about? How did you decide, like, okay, I'm in this pretty successful reggae band, I'm also going to put out my own album? How did that come about?
I think my professional years started maturing to the point where I said, okay, I have a little bit of a different musical taste than what this band is, Iya Terra. So at that point when I would make music, I'm not necessarily making music to like fit to a sound, right? So I would make music, and a couple of them would land with the band. And you'll find those on the records, like Hold the Vibes, Carry the Weight was one of my rhythms. The Movement was one of my rhythms. Gone Away, obviously. Had a
Humble Yourself.
yeah. Well, I have a verse on Humble Yourself, and that was a Nate rhythm originally. With my hands all over it, of course, because I was singing on it. But I guess when I realized that not every song that I made was gonna make it out into the world through Iya Terra, I still had a relation. Say two of those songs. Say I made 10 songs, 2 of them get taken to Iya Terra. I'm in love with 8 songs now that might not see the light of day. Right? I have this like connection to them. Mm-hmm. A yearning for them to like to share energy with people. I said, why don't I just release it under my name? They're a little bit different energetically, a different sound. I'm just gonna release it under my name. I need to get this out. It was never bad intention in it, you know. Like, there was more music than I knew what to do with, and it needed to be released, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy I did, because at the end of the day, that's what I landed on.
Yeah.
I've been making music myself since I've been in the band for almost 10 years, in the scene over 10 years, and I've been releasing solo music for 3 years, and that's where I'm at now. That's my foundation. See, that's my foundation now that I've built for myself, and that's what we're working off of now. Is about 3.5 years of releasing solo works. Yeah.
Something that I really admire about the way that you create, whether it's in the studio or on stage, is you're very like authentic and organic. You're not the type to like prepare speech that you're going to give on stage. If you say something while you're up there, it's like coming from you in that moment.
Yeah, and I always fuck it up because of that. Not like the whole message, but I'll stumble sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
People fucking love realness.
And I would imagine that you're the same way in the studio, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of art, like, don't be afraid to make shitty art. Don't be afraid to say something stupid, as long as you're speaking from the heart, you know, because it's gonna connect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everybody that's listening, they're also human, and they fuck up multiple times a day. So like, anything too rehearsed to me, leaves feeling out of it.
Yeah.
I want people to know I'm being real in my music and in my speeches or whatever I'm saying, you know, when I'm talking to the crowd, whatever. Not speeches, you know. But, making this new record, we're just, oh man, it doesn't feel like Eureka Sound fucks up very much, just because like I look up to them so much as musicians. Like, I feel like they can play whatever they play. I'm like, that was cool, man. No, that one's bad. I got to do it again. I'm like, all right, cool. So like, you know, it's just about throwing shit at the board, man. Not being afraid to experiment. If you haven't, I think we were talking a couple months ago. If you have an idea as a creative, try it. Yeah. Any idea, try it, and look at the product. If it sucks, scrap it. Next idea. But the worst thing as a creative, having an idea, telling yourself it's stupid before it comes out of your head, and moving forward with life without ever trying it. Mm-hmm. That's divine inspiration speaking sometimes. When you have those things in your head, try them. In the creative process, from A to Z, from making a song, I'm always going to try stuff that's in my head.
Okay. And that's probably how you got to where you are today, somewhat, because some people probably don't just take that first step of saying, just do it.
No, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Putting yourself out there is fucking terrifying as a human. Like, being emotional as a man is terrifying. But guess what? you're not going to go anywhere if your music's not emotionally appealing. So, like, how are you going to reach people? You need to be emotional.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
Bend that ass over, let that, could you breathe? Maybe it's not that emotional, but check about 10 years from now how many people are actually listening to that song, right?
That is true.
So the most emotional bands, Floyd, Beatles, that music still resonates through the souls of people. Like, even the youth, there's a resurgence, soul music, blues music, the whole new age soul, the South LA soul revival, you know? It's huge right now. People want realness.
100%. Another fan question. Vana Mele Garcia, hopefully I said that right. She asked, 10 years ago, did you ever think you would be where you are today?
No, because I didn't think 10 years into the future. I never did that whole 5-year plan thing, man. Follow your heart.
Yeah, that drives me crazy about you sometimes. I'm like, let's make plans. Let's think about our future. Like, what
feels good? What feels good today? Do that.
Yeah.
That's a
good way to live.
Thank you. Most of the time.
Yeah.
I guess I just mean that in a career aspect. Like, all you can do is put in as much effort as you can today. Like, if you have things that you know need to get done today that benefit your career, do those things.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask another fan question. Zach McGrath wants to know, what is a routine that you feel has made you progress with life over the years?
Going and sitting my ass at that studio and making music.
Yeah. Definitely.
And letting myself be a vulnerable little cancer boy. Emotional, vulnerable little cancer that I am. Just go sit at the desk and be real with yourself. Yeah, man.
Word. Another fan question, going back to David Ramirez, he also asked, where do you see the status of our reggae community in 10 years? I'm going to force you to look forward a little bit.
I think it's I'm gonna do what I can to make sure that it's great and it's in good hands.
Make the reggae community great again.
Take the great parts from it and really exemplify those and magnify them to the world. That's kind of my goal. It's a beautiful thing. This reggae scene, the reggae scene is great. This reggae music is magic. It's a beautiful thing. So to make the scene reflect that is my goal for the next, as long as I'm alive, is the scene for reggae will always reflect how beautiful and potent reggae is. And David, I got you, bro. I swear, 10 years from now, reggae is gonna look great, brother. Marcus Gadda and myself will be touring the States just for you. I know how bad you want to see him. Yeah, man. Real reggae music and healing music will be right here, man. Yeah. However you listen to music in 10 years, it'll be there.
Cool.
And it'll sound great.
Well, with that, thanks for coming to our casting couch. I'm Sandy. This is Nick Sefakis. Follow me on Say What With Sandy. Follow him at
Sefakis Music. Wait, that's not even it. Sefakis.
Sefakis, that's it.
This is Instagram, right?
Whatever. What's the best place to check you out? Nick Sefakis on
just
on
Google
everything.
me, man.
Google Nick Sefakis. There you go. One more. Can I get a say what?
Say what? With Sandy.